The expensive sports car growled to a halt outside a modest garage on the edge of Millfield. Its deep, uneven rumble didn't belong to a machine of that price. The driver, Malcolm Reed, CEO of Reed Enterprises, billionaire, collector of everything loud and fast, stepped out with a scowl that could dent steel. Inside, Jack Wilson wiped his hands on a rag and walked toward the car. He was a tall, quietly built man in oil-stained overalls, the kind who spoke softly but whose eyes noticed everything. "You really think you can fix this?" Malcolm said, half amused, half annoyed. He gestured toward Jack, as if introducing a clown at a show. "This guy probably can't even afford the oil in this car," he muttered to his assistant. Behind the counter, Jack's 17-year-old daughter Emma froze, her fingers tightening around the receipt book. Her father didn't respond. He simply leaned into the open hood, his hands moving with the calm confidence of a man who'd spent his life understanding machines better than people. What Malcolm didn't know was that the man he mocked had once been a near legend in engineering school. Jack Wilson had a gift, an almost instinctive feel for engines that professors couldn't explain. But life had rewritten his plans. When his wife died during childbirth, Jack dropped out of college to raise his newborn daughter alone. Bills piled high, dreams fell silent, and years later, he ended up here, owning a small-town garage, keeping the lights on one repair at a time. At night, after Emma went to bed, Jack would sit at his desk under a dim lamp, sketching engines that existed only in his imagination, designs so advanced they could have changed the industry. He never told anyone. When Emma once asked why he didn't share his inventions, he'd only smiled. "Those are just dreams, Em. The real work is keeping this roof over our heads." To Millfield, he was just a mechanic. To Emma, he was everything. Malcolm Reed's arrival that afternoon wasn't fate. It was irony. His luxury repair shop in the city was unavailable, and someone at the country club had grudgingly suggested that honest mechanic out in Millfield. Jack popped the hood, listening to the uneven rhythm of the engine. "The sound you're hearing," he began, "might be—" "Just fix it," Malcolm interrupted, glancing at his phone. "I've got a meeting in 2 hours. Think you can manage that?" Jack nodded, examining the components in silence. Malcolm paced behind him, making loud phone calls and throwing disapproving looks at the humble workshop. "Emma, the torque wrench, please," Jack called. As she brought it, Malcolm smirked. "Specialized tools? In a place like this," he muttered to his assistant. "Remind me why we didn't tow it to Pittsburgh." Jack ignored him. Something about this engine bothered him. A design flaw, subtle but critical. And then he saw it. A small modification, creating pressure on a connecting rod. It was the same flaw he'd theorized about years ago in one of his old sketches. "Mr. Reed," Jack said carefully, "the problem's a design issue. This model puts stress on—" "Oh, now you're an engineer?" Malcolm laughed loudly. "Where's your degree hanging? Next to the air fresheners." Emma flushed with anger, but Jack's calm never wavered. "I can fix it temporarily," he said, "but the issue will return unless the design itself changes." "Just make it quiet," Malcolm snapped. Jack worked methodically. While his hands moved, Malcolm's voice echoed to a garage, boasting about his new acquisition, a failing automotive parts company whose useless experimental department he'd just shut down. Jack froze briefly. That company had once been his dream job. When Jack finished, the car's growl melted into a perfect hum. "Temporary fix," he said simply. Malcolm looked unimpressed. "That's it." He tossed his black card on the counter. "Hope you take real payment, not just chickens." Emma's jaw clenched as she processed the charge. As Malcolm turned to leave, his eyes caught Jack's open notebook on the bench. He flipped through it without asking. "Quite the imagination," he said mockingly. "You play inventor in your spare time?" "Those are private," Jack said, reaching for it. "Relax," Malcolm smirked. "Everyone needs dreams, even people who'll never have the resources to chase them." He tossed the notebook onto the bench and drove off, the car now whisper quiet. "Why do you let people like that talk to you that way?" Emma burst out. "Because what he thinks doesn't matter," Jack said gently. "I know who I am." That night, after she went to bed, he opened his notebook again. His wife had once called those sketches his secret future. Now they were just old ink and paper. He sighed and closed it. Days passed. Business resumed. Until one Wednesday, Emma gasped at the small TV mounted in the waiting area. "Dad, you need to see this." Jack came over, wiping his hands. On screen, Malcolm Reed stood at a corporate event, smiling for cameras, holding Jack's notebook. And here's an example of the kind of impractical thinking that plagues small businesses. Malcolm was saying to Laughter, a mechanic who thinks he's reinvented the engine. Emma's fingers flew across her phone. He posted it. "Dad, online. He's making fun of you." Jack stared at the broadcast, an ache spreading through his chest. "It doesn't matter," he said softly, but his voice wavered. The next morning, a sleek black Ferrari prototype pulled up outside the garage. Out stepped a poised woman in an immaculate suit. "Mr. Wilson?" she asked with subtle Italian accent. "I'm Dr. Alessandro Rossi, head of engineering at Ferrari." Jack blinked. "Ferrari?" "Yes. I'd like to discuss your engine designs." He laughed awkwardly. "You must be mistaken. I'm just a mechanic." Dr. Rossi smiled knowingly. "We both know that's not true. May we talk inside?" Inside, she showed him Malcolm's viral post. "Our team saw this online," she explained. "One of our engineers noticed something extraordinary. Your sketches solve problems our division has been trying to fix for years." Emma's eyes shone with pride. "I told you, Dad." Dr. Rossi continued. "Your thermal efficiency concepts are revolutionary. And your repair on Mr. Reed's car? That issue is a design flaw even our competitors haven't identified." Jack stared, speechless. "They're just theoretical," he said. "We can make them real," Rossi replied. "Ferrari would like to offer you a consulting position with patent rights under your name." When she quoted the figure, Emma squealed, and Jack gripped the desk for balance. "This must be a joke," he whispered. "It isn't. When we contacted Mr. Reed, he called you a nobody and told us not to bother. That's why I came personally." She showed him a simulation of his design in motion. It was everything he'd ever imagined brought to life. "There's an innovation conference in Detroit next week," she said. "Ferrari will present your design. We'd like you to attend as our guests." Emma clapped her hands over her mouth. "Dad, we have to go." Jack nodded slowly, eyes moist. "All right, Em. Let's go see what dreams look like when they finally wake up." Detroit, the city of engines. The hum of innovation vibrated through the air as banners for the Global Automotive Conference fluttered across the skyline. Jack Wilson stood at the entrance of the convention hall, his old leather jacket, the only thing separating him from a sea of custom-tailored suits. Beside him, Emma's excitement was contagious. "Dad, look at all this. Lamborghini, Tesla, Porsche." Jack smiled faintly. Quite a crowd for a guy from Millfield. Inside, the atmosphere pulsed with media, executives, and flashing lights. A massive banner hung across the main stage. "Ferrari presents The Future of Engineering," featuring Jack Wilson. When Jack saw his own name, he froze. "They put my name on it?" he whispered. Dr. Rossi appeared beside him. "Of course. You're the mind behind it." Emma squeezed his arm. Mom would have been so proud. Jack swallowed hard, unable to speak. For the first time in decades, he felt like the man he might have been before life forced him to become something else. Meanwhile, across the room, Malcolm Reed had just arrived. His assistant whispered, "Sir, Ferrari's presentation is drawing major attention. Apparently, it's some mechanic's design that went viral." Malcolm frowned. "A mechanic?" Then he saw the banner. His expression stiffened. "Wilson." He pushed through the crowd, face tightening as he spotted Jack standing by the stage, calm, composed, and entirely out of place among the elite. The presentation began. Dr. Rossi took the microphone. "Today, Ferrari is proud to unveil a breakthrough engine design that improves fuel efficiency by 28% while cutting emissions nearly in half. The man responsible isn't from a research lab or corporate boardroom. He's a self-taught engineer from Millfield, Pennsylvania, Mr. Jack Wilson." A ripple of murmurs swept through the audience. Cameras flashed. Jack stepped forward under the lights. For a moment, the noise faded. He could only hear his heartbeat. Then Emma's small voice in the front row whispered, "Go on, Dad." Jack cleared his throat. "I never thought I'd be standing here. I fix cars for a living. People bring me what's broken, and I do my best to make it right. Sometimes that's all engineering really is, listening to what the machine is trying to tell you." The audience grew silent. Even the CEOs who moments earlier had scoffed now leaned in. Jack continued, "When my wife passed away, I left school to raise my daughter. I didn't stop dreaming, but I stopped expecting the world to care about those dreams. I thought maybe they weren't worth much anymore. But it turns out ideas don't expire, only courage does." Applause erupted. Emma stood, clapping through tears. Malcolm Reed's face hardened. He recognized that speech, the quiet conviction of a man he'd dismissed. Dr. Rossi smiled and gestured toward a massive screen behind them. The animation of Jack's design appeared, an elegant new engine structure spinning in digital perfection, running smoother than anything on the market. The crowd gasped as the statistics flashed across the display: efficiency, durability, speed. "This," Rossi concluded, "is the future, born not in a laboratory, but in a small-town garage." Reporters flooded forward, shouting questions. Cameras surrounded Jack, blinding him in flashes. "Mr. Wilson, how does it feel? Will you join Ferrari permanently? Is it true Reed Enterprises mock your work?" Before Jack could answer, a familiar voice cut through the noise. "Jack!" Malcolm Reed stepped into the circle, trying to look composed. "Jack, I just want to congratulate you." He extended a hand. Jack looked at it, then at Malcolm's face. "You didn't believe in what you couldn't understand," he said quietly. "That's your flaw, not mine." Malcolm's smile faltered. "Perhaps we can collaborate. Reed Enterprises could." "No," Jack interrupted, his tone steady but firm. "You already had your chance." The crowd murmured as Malcolm's expression crumbled under the lights. He turned abruptly and walked off, cameras following him like vultures. Jack looked at Emma, who was beaming, cheeks wet. That night, after the conference, Ferrari CEO signed a historic deal with Jack. Patent rights under his name, full royalties, and a position as head consultant of innovation engineering. He insisted on one condition: the first prototype stays in my garage. It's where it was born. Emma laughed. "We'll have the fanciest garage in Millfield." Dr. Rossi smiled. "Ferrari prefers to call it the Millfield Innovation Lab now." Months passed. Jack's story became a global phenomenon. A mechanic who outclassed a billionaire and redefined humility in genius. Engineering magazines called him the mind from the garage. He rebuilt his shop, not into a luxury facility, but a workshop where young engineers from small towns could come learn and experiment. No tuition, no gatekeepers, just passion and persistence. One afternoon, a package arrived. Inside was a note written in shaky handwriting. "To Mr. Wilson, thank you for reminding me what real success looks like. Malcolm Reed." Beneath it lay the same sports car Jack had repaired months ago, fully transferred in his name. Jack smiled softly. "Guess even billionaires learn," he murmured. Emma rolled her eyes playfully. "So, what are you going to do with Ferrari?" He grinned. "Probably take my daughter for ice cream." They did, and when the car purred along the quiet Millfield road, Jack reached over, turned off the engine for a second, and listened to the silence that once haunted him, now peaceful. "Dreams don't die, Em," he said, his voice gentle. "They just wait for us to catch up." The sun dipped behind the hills, and for the first time in years, Jack Wilson didn't feel like a man fixing broken things. He felt like one finally made whole.